Hello, everyone. I just thought I would share this audio clip from the show that I did with Freedom Talk Radio back in July. This is what got me on to Freedom Talk Radio, which is on Blog Talk Radio, in the first place. This is my interview with Andy Peacher and Bob Honecker, which are the producers of the show. Andy Peacher is out of England, which you will be able to identify with his British accent. And Bob Honecker is an expatriate from the United States. He moved there quite a number of years ago. Can't remember when. But at any rate, this was a 2-hour segment show. This is my segment, which is the last hour. And I'll put up the URL, the address to the whole show here, which you can see now. But since it's long, I'm going to put it also into the description box just below the video here on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy the show, and if you have any comments or anything, send me an email or whatever at the website, which my website is ytyrradio.tk, which is the short one, or the long one is ytyrradio.wordpress.com. Enjoy the show.
William, welcome to the show. It's Bob and Andy from the UK and Amsterdam. Welcome, my friend, live there from Mexico.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation.
You're always welcome, my friend.
Well, I consider it to be an honor to be on your show, actually, and it's just kind of amazing for me that you actually found me. So that's cool, and I just figure, well, it's one of those, well, we have a different way of putting it, but it's meant to be. So, anyway, yes.
You're absolutely there, because me and Bob will explain the journey we're on in a minute. I'm going to put you on the spot there, Bob. But yeah, we found each other, me and Bob. We've found other people in our journey, and all we're trying to do throughout the radio, throughout websites that we have, is to join people up, take away the negatives and into a positive, and the world, from what we do, at least the world between us, will be a better place. If we can help one person to be positive and to be happy, that's got to be worth the trying, you know. So, Bob, do you want a quick word with William?
Yeah, hi, Bill. How you doing, buddy?
All right, how are you?
Good. You're from the States?
Yeah, I am. As a matter of fact, Andy and I were talking about that, and I just said, when I heard your voice, I went, he's got an American accent, and he's living in Holland, so he must be an expat like me.
I'm an expat, yeah. D.C., New Hampshire, D.C., and my mom lives in Arizona. So, I'll be just across the border from you in a month's time. And, maybe, I don't know, Andy is a little bit sneaky. I have difficulty looking into the positive with my complex PTSD, and I get all paranoid and whatnot, and the ironic part of it is that the what makes me feel worse is because I know that there is that positive inside me, and it's. I think you can party seriously on that one, can't you?
Well, no, there's positive and negatives in us every day, and it's, if you will, it's kind of an internal fight within ourselves on a daily basis on where do you want to be, what do you want to accomplish, and how do I get there. Part of what Andy was reading is from my blog, and it was just a realization that came to me, and as Andy read it, I was going through a thought of, I knew this stuff, I know this stuff, it's always been there, so why do I have to relearn something I already learned? Well, we also find ourselves in the situation of we actually if you will, we get rubbed off from our communities, people that we're around, and if we listen to them for too long or we're around them for too long, we start feeling and seeing life as they are, especially if they're the ones who's being the vocal person in the group. We learn from other people, and if your mind is open, you're definitely going to be learning something from somebody else, whether it's the good, the bad, or it's just downright ugly. But it's how we deal with that information, and this is why so many people talk about even meditation. For me, meditation isn't just sitting there and going, it's part of that, but yes, but it's also, and I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek because I have a lot of friends who we all seem to view this in the same way, is that there are too many people that use the name of God, or actually the word God, and they drag it down so much it doesn't really mean anything anymore. So I say Creator. But it's my time to not only to reflect on what has happened throughout the day, what I want, but also to find that quiet time with Creator and even have a conversation. For me, that is what prayer is. So without getting too long-winded here, let me stop there.
Yeah, can I ask you a little question on that point? And Bob's going to kill me for this, but I've already warned you that I'd ask a couple of the negatives. When people, some people deal with things spiritually and not God-related. Some people deal with things godly. Some people just deal with positive thinking, I guess. The point I'm making from you mentioned God. How do you know who your God is? Because a lot of people are thinking, my God's better than your God, la, 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 Is it really God up in the heavens or wherever he's supposed to be? Or is it a combination of just thinking positively and just having some time out and calming down and refocusing, just take away all the negative, well, not so much negative thoughts, but, don't worry about the weather today. Don't worry about you've got no money. Don't worry about the child abuse. Don't worry about la, la, la. Is it just you sitting down for an hour a day, almost meditating without meditating, and, things are just feeling better by doing that? Or is it God?
Well, Andy, I know you're going to ask questions. It's not a problem. You can ask anything that you want. I have some answers. I don't have every answer, and I have no problems in telling you I don't have an answer. This, I can only give you from my own experience. And, I know the question, and my answer has always been that if you understand, well, let's take it a little bit from Einstein first, just to give it a little bit of a background. Einstein basically just says energy is everywhere, and energy manifests itself. Okay, that's your E equals MC squared. If you compress energy enough, it becomes matter. How do I identify with God? Or I prefer not to use that name because, like I said, it generally just means something negative with so many different people. But how do I identify with Creator? And I look at it from this point. Energy exists everywhere. You cannot create energy, you cannot destroy energy, but you can manipulate energy. And this is even what thoughts are. Thoughts are energy that has been manipulated. I'm a Qigong master. You think about what you want energy to do, and it becomes. Okay? It does what you want it to do. Scientists are now studying what is consciousness because they say energy exists, but it's just there. And unless it has something that's conscious behind it, it doesn't do anything besides sit. Okay? It would be the same as the oceans being there without the moon. If the moon does not circle the earth, water does not move. It would just sit there and it would become stagnant. So, if you will, use the consciousness as the moon, is when it moves, the energy goes with it. I don't know if that confused you or if that actually helped you out.
Oh, okay, then that's brilliant. Brilliant answer.
Bill, can I ask you where you get your mindset from, where that started?
Where do these thoughts come from?
How you got into that the mindset, how you circle the negative circle or spiral, however you want to call it.
God, you're going back way back when.
Yeah.
Oh, God, let's see if I can shorten this one a little bit. I always had questions because I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian family. I always had questions, and when I asked people questions, they couldn't give me an answer. And my usual answer was, you have to have faith. And my answer was, the faith is not the problem. I have faith. I want to understand it more. You're telling me to believe. The Christian denomination I grew up in, there was a great emphasis on memorization. Here, remember this text, remember that text, remember this, remember that. And everything was built on memory, but it seemed not to be on understanding. What does it mean? And if he did explain it to you, it was in the context of, this is how we believe it. And I just went, okay, fine. This is, you have your belief system here, but this particular denomination over here has a different belief for the same text, and that denomination over there, and so on and so forth, on down the line. And I kept asking questions, and I never could get it, so it was always kind of, they would push me off to the side. Not literally, physically, but it was just, no, go away. You're asking questions. You're asking too many questions. I eventually went and studied from the source, from the source meaning, who wrote this text? So I went to the source of that text. And it started making sense because they have so much information that goes right along with all of this information. And it became like somebody turned the light on in a dark room, and now I understand all this stuff. And I went, hey, cool, this works. So I started studying it from that point of view. Then I went into studying actually from other religions. And I found that there is a commonality within all of these religions if you actually go in to study it. And all of these religions have the basis of you can and you are actually a co-creator on this earth, if you will, because if energy exists and we are all part of energy, then guess what? We're all part of our creator, and we have the consciousness, not that of the creator, but we have a similar style of consciousness, which means we can create our own now and our own future.
That sounds very Zen.
I maybe said it in a long way, but okay, that's the best I could do in a short notice.
Zen. Have you read the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Mechanics? By the way.
No, I haven't read it, but I've known about the book for years. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just M. Scott Peck and his philosophy. It sounds a lot like that. And again, I have to ask the same question: how do you break that negative circle? I mean, I'm not asking you to be some kind of magician or something, but well, kind of am.
That's okay. How do I break it? Well, first of all, to make a change, first you have to understand where you are. And you have to understand that to make change, you have to want to change because you're saying, something's not right here. And I don't like where I am. I don't like what I'm doing. In other words, it's kind of like, I liken this whole idea, even with my own radio show, I'm not trying to reach everybody. I'm reaching those people who want to change. They see something in their own lives that are going, hey, I want something better in life. I want to understand how to make my life better, and those are the ones you're trying to reach, because otherwise Bob, you grew up in the United States, so you know what I mean by this. I don't know if they do this over in the UK, Andy, but it's kind of like on Sunday mornings when you're sleeping in late and somebody's knocking at your door or ringing your doorbell. Hi, can I talk to you about, I don't want to name the group, but you know who I'm talking about. And it's like, no, go away. I was sleeping. But, you ought to listen to this. Dude, if I want it, I know where you guys exist. No problem. Okay? Thank you very much. Let me go back to sleep. But occasionally, yes, they will find somebody that's willing to listen. But at any rate, the first place is you need to find that you have an existing problem. And you don't like where you are, so you find a way to change that. Okay, why am I suffering this? In other words, don't go blaming somebody else for the problems that are existing within yourself. Once you realize that, how do I change? Okay, as far as that blog post that Andy had read just at the beginning of the show, or at least my segment of the show, is that I was realizing I was putting too much concern into something about my future. Now, you've heard and probably read the expressions that happiness is living in the now. And what that basically means is that I'm not concerned about the past. Past is gone. I can't change it. I can't go back in time to change it. I can't. Maybe somebody else can. I don't know. But I can't change it. Future is not here yet. So I can only plan for the future. Concern for it is probably, at least the way that I was writing it in the blog, is concern is worry. Worry is I am overly concerned and I'm fearful of what can go wrong. So instead of being concerned or fear-based in any way how you want to put it, instead of being fear-based, is I just go plan for it, because even, Bob, you've moved. Andy, I don't know that much about what you've done or what you're doing, but if you plan for something in the future, you plan for it, but you know that somewhere down the line when that future event happens, tomorrow or the next 5 minutes, something about that didn't happen exactly the way that you had planned on it. So you just live that moment as it comes, and you have prepared for at least what your intentions were, and you just keep going with the now as now happens, because it's all fluid.
What happens if somebody wants to change then very badly, in fact so badly, just they want to change, so they're positive, they want a new life, they may want a new job, they may want to move, they may want a new girlfriend, whatever the change may be, but they're always getting these constant obstacles in the way, stopping them from changing or moving forward. How strong, or is there any special way of making things happen? A lot of people are very positive, but it's just the negatives that are getting in the way, stopping them moving on.
Well, there's no quick and easy answer for what you're just asking, because you can be positive about many things. Yes, this is what I want, this is what I want. Now, here's the side that I always use for many people who go, well, I can always get what I want. I manifest what I want. And, okay, you may need to talk to someone who gets that. But my version of this is my creator, my source of life, my source of being, that consciousness, however you want to put it, is not my little genie in the bottle. There are things that, yes, I want. There's things that I plan for. And I get a lot of what I want, but it doesn't mean I get everything that I want. Okay, there's a guy that I knew several years ago who used to tell me about, I'm not sure who this guy was in a relationship to him, was his brother-in-law or something like that, but he's very wealthy, monetarily wealthy fella. And he wanted to participate in a raffle. and they were giving away a brand new BMW. Which model, I don't know, and it's really not important for the story. Anyway, he wanted to win it. He said the guy's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and he says not like he needed to win a BMW. He could afford to buy, he said, at least 10 of them if he wanted to at one time. But he wanted to win this just to prove a point. So he entered to buy the raffle, and he says, I'm going to win it. And to prove his point, he went out and bought a key fob just for that car, one that said BMW on it. He went to the raffle, to this meeting where the raffle was being held, and they gave the 3 finalists a key for the car. So the guy, I guess was the MC of the program, he asked the women, there was 2 women and him, he says, go ahead, put your key into the ignition, and if it turns the car on, you've won the car. And the first woman came up, and it didn't fit, and she went away sad. Came down to the last 2, this other woman and this guy, and they said, okay, who wants to go next? And the guy says, why don't you go ahead, see how it feels to sit in my car? Probably an arrogant way to put it, but okay, he was very confident that he was going to win. And she says, are you sure? He says, it might be my car. He says, no, go ahead, have a seat. So she gets in, sits down, gets comfortable. She sticks her key into the ignition, and it didn't work. He went up, put his key in the ignition, and started it up. It was his car. That was the way it went. Now, does that work for everybody every time? My personal experience, I would say no, because there's sometimes that you find that life has something better in store for you. It may be what you want, but what you get is not always what you'd wanted. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. But then again, there's the learning lesson that life gives. Life is not one of the easiest things to work through. It's, if you want to call it, some people call it a game. I call it just an experience that you just have to learn how to get your way through. Why? Because we also know that if you don't learn a particular lesson, you come back and you repeat it. This you can find in many of the books that I've read throughout the ages. At this point in time, I would say you have to learn how to choose a correct book nowadays, because it seems like everybody wants to write a book on their own personal experiences.
Database has been updated.
Sorry about that. Anyway, the experiences that we have, they're usually individual experiences. It's something that's unique to you because we're all individuals. So there is no one particular way that's going to work for everybody. One size fits all. No. Can't find clothes that one size fits all. So it's an individual experience.
Yeah, of course it's individual. I think one of the things you heard the lady's story this afternoon, and you've seen enough negativity in your life, and I am yeah. My life has been basically bogged down with negativity. I mean, it's not because I am a negative person, but got some pretty serious knocks around. Okay, mm-hmm. And it's nothing I chose or whatnot. And I'm speaking for myself, and I know there are millions out there that are probably feeling the same way. Okay, it's that specific mindset that says, no, I don't want to be negative, right? And then you got the little angel saying I want to be positive, and the devil saying that I want to be negative, and because the devil, it's only the devil, the angel sitting there, Okay, please, with a little please. Can I come out? Can I show my face? And the devil said, "Get the head back there," you know. and you see where I'm going there, and yeah, that's, you know, I'm like, I'm like, it's the people that are happy, you know, happy-go-lucky. Okay, here are the happy people, and there are the go-lucky guys. I'm in the middle, and I'm just trying to, you know, I got my blinders on, and I'm just trying to gallop through life, and can't wait till the day I croak, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and
I can say one thing, my friend Bob. You may be feeling, you know, whatever you're feeling at the moment, but you sure did cheer me up just now.
I try, man. I try.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a history lesson. I'm going to come from the originators, the writers of the biblical text. And they mention hell quite often, but it's not a place. The place that has become very popular in our society these days came from the book Dante's Inferno. Here's a man that was excommunicated from the Catholic Church, and he wrote about how he felt. And he wrote it in prose, of course. You know, poetic prose and whatnot. And that has been taken over time as to be a very serious writing, and this is what it was. Because even in early Christianity, this was not that much of a concern. But going back even further, when it talks about hell in the Bible, it talks about that point where you find yourself in life where depression has grasped you so much, you know that you feel very negative. We talk about good and evil. And the true definition of good and evil is goodness is that which is, let's just say good is good. And the evil and the negative is the absence of good. Just like light is with sunlight, a light bulb, whatever, and dark is the absence of light. Heat is something that you measure, but you do not measure cold. Why? Because absolute zero in Kelvin scale is where the atomic movement ceases. So you cannot go beyond that point of measuring cold. There's no atomic movement. You've reached absolute zero. How hot is hot? We haven't found how hot can be yet. Okay? So there's limitations for everything. But we're talking about the hell as being that point of depression. And what is depression is? Depression is that point where you're just thinking everything is bad, everything is terrible. I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And you have to change that point where I am happy at this moment. And this moment is all you have. The next moment, you may not exist. We don't know that. I mean, in just going from a biblical point of view, even that is told you in your own biblical scriptures if you're into that kind of a thought. But even if you're not into the scriptures, you know that the next moment is not a guaranteed existence. You know, you could drop dead of a heart attack. You could be poisoned. There could be, the way things have been going in the news, a meteor can come down right there in your building and somebody is going to be dead. Who knows? We don't know. But right now, I have. So right now, I choose to be happy. If I may, let me give you a quick story on, well, it's not actually quick, as a friend of mine would tell you, because I don't actually go that quick. I go into details too much. Several years ago, I was working in an international corporation in Chicago, Illinois. And I was the field manager, and my job answered directly to the regional vice president. They decided to close the division I was head of, so they made me the training supervisor, which also meant I had to work with the human resources department. Which meant I had another person who was my boss, but he wasn't my direct boss, because my boss was the same boss as his. So I had to work with them because I was doing the federal background checks which meant I was doing stuff on the computer and not with just calling people up on the phone and going, hey, do you know Jim Bob over here, and is he a good person, and all that kind of stuff. No, that wasn't the job of another person in the office. So, any rate, I got into the job. They transferred me into this position on a Tuesday. On a Thursday, the human resources director came in, and he was not in a good mood. If we weren't on the air, I would joke about that one. Bob, you know what I'm talking about there. Okay, his girlfriend was. But at any rate.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's the joke we always have in the States anyway. So he came in, and he chewed out verbally one of the girls in the office. She was very nice. She was about 27 years old at the time. She lived with a boyfriend. She was very attractive, but she was very professional in her job. She kept everybody at a safe professional distance. And she would laugh and joke with you, but that was as far as she went. But she was very conscientious about her work, and nobody ever complained about anything that she did. She was always looking to do her best. Everything was fine. This guy came in, and he took her into the office, and she walks out, and she goes into her office and closed the door tightly. She never did that. Even when there was a lot of people in the area, people came to pick up their checks, the people were doing a hiring spree, she would only put the door ajar so she could see out, but she could still make her phone calls and do her work without a lot of interruptions. She closed the door tight. The other guy that was working in the office with me, he says, what's going on with this girl? I won't say her name. And I said, I don't know. What's the problem? He says, well, she went into her office and closed the door. I said, she never does that. He goes, yeah, I know. When she came out, I saw her walk out of the guy's office, the manager's office, and she looked like she was upset. So I think she's in her office crying. I said, I don't know. So I'll find out later on. Who's next in line? Me. So the guy takes me in his office, and he goes, how come you're not getting this stuff done? So I put up 3 fingers, and I said, I've only been here for 3 days, not 3 weeks, not 3 months. I'm still on this huge learning curve, and I made a bell curve with my hand. And I said, I'm still on this learning curve, so I'm getting it done as fast as I can, the best that I can for being here for 3 days. So he goes, yeah, okay, well, you got a point there. Well, just get it done. I don't like being talked down to. It's just not respectful, and I don't do this to people, so I don't stand it for myself. So I'm upset, and I'm just like, okay, fine. Went back to my office, and I have a lot of stuff to do, so I'm trying to get things done. I'm singing, I'm telling jokes to myself, and this anger is not going anywhere. In the meantime, the third person went in, and he got the same lambasting. So in between all of this, one of the other account managers comes in, and he tells me some stuff that the girl had experienced with this manager, and says she made me swear that I wouldn't tell it to any upper management. So I'm keeping my promise. You're a manager, but you're not upper management. I said, fine. So he told me about it. Now, I'm telling you this to build up, because now at this point it's around 10:30 in the morning, and I remember this part kind of vividly, and I had to take something to my boss, regional vice president's office, so I had to drop it off as his secretary. So to get to his office, I had to walk out into the hallway to walk into another place to go to his office. So I walked out into the hallway, and I just said, I have just to say, Creator, God, whatever. This guy's got to go. I don't care if you kill him. I don't care if you fire him. Whatever. I'm pissed off. He didn't do it to just me. He did it to everybody. And nobody really justifies this. There is no justification what he did. And literally, this may sound weird to you, but listen on as the story goes. I heard a voice come back to me and says, we can do this. And it did say we. We can do this, but you have to start it. And I said, I can do that. So I'm still angry. So I walked into the secretary's office, dropped off what I had to drop off with her, looked into the vice president's office. His door was open, and I just didn't knock on his door. I just called him by his first name. And I said, what are you doing for lunch? He didn't look up. He recognized my voice. He's working on his computer, and he says, nothing. Why? I said, I'm taking you to lunch. Didn't ask him. I told him, I'm taking you to lunch. My treat. And he still didn't look up, and he just went, okay. Let me finish this. I'll be finished about 10 minutes. Where do I find you? I said, in my office or be down in the break room. He says, okay, I'll find you. Went back to my office, sat down. I'm trying to get something done. It was just minor stuff, and I couldn't do it. It was just too angry. So I went down to the break room. There's the girl that went in, and she's sitting at the table, staring at the wall with a cigarette in her hand, with the elbow on the table and the other arm across her chest. So we talked for a couple of minutes, and then here comes the vice president. He said, you ready? I went, yeah, so we went to lunch. We just sat there and had a conversation, and Bob, you know what I mean when I say we had the kind of a southern style. Andy, I don't know if you know what that means, but it's a conversation that has nothing to do with business at this point, so you can actually enjoy your meal. Then after the meal, then you have the business conversation. So we did that, and he's laughing at when we finished. He said, I know you didn't bring me over here to talk about short sleeve shirts because it was a hot summer in Chicago at that point. And so I told him what had happened with me. Nothing. Told him what happened with the girl. Okay, he's got a little bit more attention. Told him what happened to the other guy. And okay, he's still got the attention, but he's not really convinced. You can see it on his face. So then I told him what the other guy, the account executive, told me, and he became a little bit more serious. So we finished that. We got up and went back to the office, and as we're walking, just light conversation, got back to my office, and I said, okay, I did what I had to do. Now it's your turn. 10 minutes later, here comes the vice president of my door, knocking at the door. Very nice, respectful man. And he goes, listen, I can't let what you told me go without investigation. Do you mind if I investigate it? And I kind of gave him a puppy dog look of, what? What do you think I took you to lunch for? And I said, sure, yeah, go ahead. I said, do you want me to tell anybody that you're coming? He said, no, I can handle it from here. I just wanted to show you respect by asking if I could do it. That was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We were owned by, at that point, I'll say the corporation that owned us was Borg Warner Corporation, very big international company. The corporate head of human resources came in because their base was in Chicago too, but we were just on the outskirts of Chicago, so he showed up. He investigated what was going on. That was on a Thursday afternoon. Next day, Friday morning, 10 a.m., the guy who started all this problem was fired. Now, if you remember, when I walked into the hallway, I said, he's got to go. This is my result. This is what I wanted. He's got to go. I don't care how it's done, but he's got to go, because this was something that affected, for me, I can deal with my own problems fairly well. But when you're affecting a group of people, my thing is I need to go and ask for bigger help.
Got it. Is that why you're in Mexico? Yeah, the hospital.
Well, part of the reason was I got tired of freezing up in Chicago. And I like Chicago. There's not a big problem there. But I got tired of being in snow and, salty snow and getting into your leather shoes and all the rest of that. And I don't like wearing rubber and all that kind of stuff, except for on my soles and my shoes. And it's just, I'm tired of freezing every year. And then in the summertime, as you're hearing probably now in Chicago, they got all this high heat and high humidity, which is killing people. In Arizona, where I used to live before I moved down here, Bob, you're talking about your mother's there. I said I used to live in Tempe, so when I left there, we had 3 days of 118 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's around close to 50 degrees Celsius. If not 50, and for 3 days on end, but the humidity is like 8%, so it's something that doesn't really bother you because perspiration, it comes on your body, but it evaporates very quickly. So down here in Mexico, actually where I live is in the Mexico City Valley. It's we're 7,400 feet above sea level, even though we're in a tropical area, but our temperatures normally range on the Fahrenheit scale somewhere in the 80s, and which pushes us around 26 to 28. Sometimes the highest we normally get is around 30 degrees Celsius. So, yeah, it's fine down here. The other side of that was I came down here when President Bush Jr. was in office, and that guy was actually kind of scaring me. So I just went, yeah, it's time to go to a warmer climate and get away from this guy. But the other side of this basically is that, I wasn't born with these thoughts. I was born with a lot of different thoughts that I thought were way people thought. But that's a conversation maybe for another time. But it's always made me kind of the strange one, the oddball out kind of a atmosphere. But with all these conspiracy theories and whatnot that are going on everywhere in the world, and the United States seems to be the capital of conspiracy theories, I have a way of looking at it that now, I just told you one story about the what had happened, but there's been things that have happened just recently. There's been things that happened a long time ago, even before that, and since then. And it's the same thought. And I got into this thinking just recently of, if I can do this with my own personal life, and I'm doing it for other people more so than I am just for myself, is it a possibility that we can do this as a collective in humanity? Not saying that we can change the whole world, but who knows? But at least if we find that we can grab several people, let's just say several people in your own community, and your own community being where you live, but since we're talking about internet, and here I'm in Mexico, Bob's in the UK, Bob's in Amsterdam, and Andy's in the UK, our community nowadays is the whole world, because we're all connected with the internet, if nothing else. So can we get enough people to say, yeah, I'm tired of what's going on. How do I make the change? Because I don't really want to get out here and fight somebody verbally. I don't want to fight somebody on paper, because we're playing somebody else's game when we play it verbally and on paper. So there's something else that I can do? And yes, there is something that we can do. And I'm tempted to go into something else here, but I would rather at least just finish this particular thought before I go there, is can we get enough people that can think along the same paths and use the same ideology, if you will, or same path to bring about the results? Now, there has been studies about people who have done meditations in different cities, and they notice that when they get a lot of people together to meditate on one thought, they have noticed that the crime rate in that city has gone down dramatically, something that's very measurable. And I'm not talking about like 1% of 0.1 of 1%. We're talking about a percentage. Yeah, maybe, I don't remember the exact figures, but it's kind of like 3 to 5%. They noticed that crime rate of that city has gone down by those percentage points.
That sounds good.
It's humanity. It's true, and that's what the radio. Andy and I are trying to do is to get people together and get human again, if you know what I mean. Instead of being Mr. Internet or Mr. Angry or just what's the word? Empathy. I'm looking for humanity. Ending abuse, be it towards animals or children or spouses. Everybody is so bitter nowadays that it makes it almost mission impossible to think positive.
Oh yeah. Well, it depends on what you really want to do, and Andy, let me take something here real quick. Because this is just sitting in my head. It's kind of like pushing to get out. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to say this real quick. I'm going to come from the biblical point of view, but it's not going to be what most people probably think I would say at this point. I'm going to put it this way, and this is something that I've been saying for years. If you understand the beginning, this is the way that I look at life. This is the way I look at even reading scriptures, if you want to call it that. If you understand the beginning, what was man created? How was man created? And what was the purpose? And all that kind of stuff. You find this in the first book of, where you say, the Bible. If you understand that, you understand the role that we have in this world, in this lifetime. The rest of the Bible, for me at least, is just details. It is. It's just details. So let's break it down into something very simple, because I know we only have a few minutes more to go here. But, I'm in radio, so I keep watch of time too. So anyhow, the thought that I come up with, the thought that I live by is this. In the creation story, we find that everything that we know, everything that we don't know, was created by a being. We call him God. At least in the Bible, God created. Okay. So, God created everything that we know except for two things, at least for this point of view. Didn't create two things. One, he didn't create money. He didn't say, here's your legal tender. This is what you use to buy and sell. Didn't create that. That's man-made. Number two, he didn't create religions. Nowhere will you find in that creation story that he created a religion. It's more of, hey, I created you. You want to get to know me? Spend some time with me, okay? Bob, I just met you. Andy, I just met you. If I want to get to know you, I spend more time talking with you. We get to know each other. And I know where my limitations are with each of you. That's the relationship that most of us that talk the way that I do are talking about. That's the relationship, getting to know this being. Okay? It's there. It's not pushing on you. It's not saying, you have to know me. No, I'm here. Just like you, Bob, just like you, Andy, you're there. You reached out to me and said, hey, how'd you like to be on my show? Fine, sounds good. Let's get to know each other. Fine, I'm here. We're having a good time together. At least I'm having a good time with you guys, even though you're just letting me rant here, but okay. So that's the whole idea behind my relationship with my Creator, is I get to know. We say him, I usually say it, because how can you put a gender on a being that you don't know, at least in the physical? Okay, if this being created man and a woman, then you would have to think that just to understand the physical, the body, physical, from the point of a creation point of view, then maybe there's part of that as well. It is part of each animal and insect and all of that. So that consciousness that is the Creator is far beyond what we can really understand. But there's that point where he just says, come and understand me, and I'll impart on you to whatever your level of understanding can and will be. And that's where I make my relationship. That's how I view my relationship with Creator.
Makes a heck of a lot of sense there, my friend. And yeah, Creator, your higher power, your positive self, call it what you want. I mean, God, there's an AA. You know the AA and the Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah.
They say, you're God. What? And they say, what's God? Okay. A group of drunks. They say. And it is. I've got the theories. I've got them all. I can say I've got them all pretty much nailed down. But this is I'm almost certain Andy will agree with what I'm about to say. And that there's a slot at the end of the weekend, and I think I would really like to get to know you, my friend, and I would like to invite you to fill that slot.
Fine.
Cool. There we go. Done deal.
Can I have a word now? Now you've invited me to comment. This will make you very, very laugh. This one will. Friday was turned down. Well, not turned down, but a misunderstanding about a Friday by one person who had positive energy, or they wanted to spiritual their way through life. The next person were kind of invited again, same path, but kind of, they haven't got back to us either, or again, there might have been a misunderstanding. So, third time lucky, can we get a spiritual, godly, positive thinker on a Friday show? You can choose your own slot time, and now and again, if you want, you can do a non-live show by rebroadcasting one of your other ones from that week.
I'm open. My whole idea in even doing a show, and let me put it to you, I'll see if I can do this in 2 minutes. One of the things that I learned along my journey in life is that I don't understand hatred. Is one thing that I don't really understand. And Judaism in itself gets a lot of hatred. But Judaism has something that I found very unique in most of the religions around. I'm not saying it's the only one. I should maybe unique, very unique is probably a little bit too overboard. But Judaism has a way of looking at things, is saying that if you're a good person and you're not doing any harm, sounds a little bit like Wiccans, if you're not doing any harm to anyone, and this harm physical, emotional, or spiritual to anyone, and you have a great respect for life, and you're seeking, if you will, I'll say it the way they say it, if you're seeking
90 seconds.
If you're seeking God on your own way, you're a great person. I have my show with 4 other co-hosts because I want people to see that everybody has a different way of looking at the same thing, but it's all basically the same thing.
Sounds good to me.
So,
after the show.
60 seconds.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, I'll send you the email address, but we'll talk tomorrow. Just remind us, because me and Bob are busy. Well, the next show from us, because of Friday nights at the moment, are free. It's Tim and Andy's show on Saturday, and that's Nights of Liberty show. Tim from Canada and myself, Andy from the UK. We do go into sort of multitasking. The show won't be live in a minute, but we are still on air. But I mean, at this point, Bob, I'm going to phone somebody in half an hour. So, shall we wrap up the show, my friend, with a song, and we'll talk to, is it Bill or William or?
Well, I go by K. William Spencer here in Mexico because my first name is Kirk, but they can't pronounce it down
seconds.
Here. So, since they can't say Kirk, I just go K. William. But you can call me Kirk if that's what you like, or Bill. Excuse me, not Bill, but Will.
Names.
Yeah. Kirk.
Yeah, we like first.
Yeah, that
first
works.
names.
That's fine.
Okay, and Andy, you got a choice? Little voice.
I have actually, but I can't find it. The America song, Breakfast in America. That'd be good if you can find it. Beef for breakfast.
No, really.
Dedicated to you, Bob, when you're flying over the Atlantic on the 26th of August.
Oh, Jesus. I hate this guy. I'll do the Streets of Philadelphia. And let's I'm going to round this up. Streets of Philadelphia. This is Freedom Talk Radio with Andy and Bob. And if you want to call in, it's 347-677 something. I've lost the number.
But not tonight, because we're not going to be here.
We're not going to be here anymore. We'll see you soon. We'll see you the rest of the week. God bless, and yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. This thing will work. Compress. Go. Yesterday. There we go.